Hello friends, it is Rachel Archelaus here, and I want to talk today about how do you shift into action when there's something you've been wanting to do for a long time, something you've been wanting to happen for a long time, or you're just used to a very one-note kind of life where you do the same thing over and over again. How do you bust out of that and then start to create something new? That can be really difficult because we have so much momentum built up on the thing that's been happening for a long time. So whether that's like you've been wanting to start your own business, but you have a day job and you're just used to going to that job and going home and eating and going to sleep, or if you've been waiting for something, like if you've written a book and you're waiting to get published, if you've written a play and you're waiting to get a producer, how do you actually get out of waiting mode into action mode? I was at the Sundance Film Festival yesterday, and I was at an event that's pretty new. This is only the second year they have shown episodic work. So instead of a film, it's going to be a TV show. So I went to a screening of 4 TV pilots that were made independently instead of with a studio. And one of the questions at the Q&A after the event was, what made you decide to do this yourself instead of going the traditional route and finding a studio to work with and getting it produced that way? Because that's typically how things are. And I thought that was such a great question. Like, why did you stop waiting for somebody else to pick it up? And what made you decide to do it on your own? And the number one answer that the different filmmakers gave was they were frustrated. They were frustrated at waiting, which tells me that they were no longer willing to tolerate the feeling of not being in control of this. There was a desire in them to create this thing no matter what. And so they finally let the option in of doing it themselves. They were open enough to see that they could do it themselves because all of them did. And a lot of times frustration in our own lives is what gets us into action. And it's not the frustration that moves us, it's really what happens after the frustration. We get so mad that nothing's happening that we actually release our resistance. It's like this big relief and surrender and that happens after we're frustrated. That lets in all those new perspectives like, oh, I could make this myself, or, oh, I can just start here with this business idea. It lets the new energy come in, and there we have the epiphany or the starting point or whatever it is we need to really get going. I find that even with little things, like getting out of my routine or my momentum can be hard sometimes, like even in going to this event. Unless I'm traveling, I am such a homebody. I like to stay in or just be in nature. I don't go to the city, I don't really go to events. So this big idea of like going to this film festival, that's in Park City, it's a drive for me, it's a fancy thing, I have to go pick up my tickets ahead of time. The whole idea of doing this new thing, in the days before, I was a little nervous. My resistance doesn't want me to go. But I know that I'm really being called on a deeper level to go to this thing and that it's really going to be worthwhile. At this point, I can tell the difference between my established resistance and any kind of momentum I have going and what I really inner harmoniously want to do and what is most beneficial for me. I've built up that discernment over many, many years. It's not always easy to tell when you're just in resistance or when you really don't want to do something. I like to use the yes-no technique for this, so I will link that video in the eye and below if you want to learn more about the yes-no technique for asking your higher self a yes or no question, like, is this event most beneficial for me to attend? My answer would have been yes if I had to do that, but I could tell, like, I didn't want to go downtown to pick up my tickets. I didn't want to get in my car and drive to half an hour to Park City to go to this event. I didn't want to have to figure out the shuttle system. And so the ways that I know to overcome this resistance and let in that new energy is twofold. One is to meditate. So get out of your own way for 10 to 20 minutes a day. Meditate, focus on a sound. This is what Abraham says to do. And I find it really effective. I've meditated all different kinds of ways over the years, and this works just fine, where you're just listening to a noise or your breath for 10 to 20 minutes a day. and you're just relaxing. You're getting your brain to shut off, or at least to not focus on it, right? Even if the thoughts come in, you're just letting them go, and you're refocusing on the sound when you remember to. That really does wonders at like making a pause in your day so that these new awarenesses and perspectives can come in and get you out of your routine. Break that momentum. The other thing is to really pay attention to how you're feeling in every single moment. I knew I was feeling resistance the other day when I had to go out do these errands. But because I had been listening to myself the day before, I knew I needed to relax. I needed to create space in my day. I needed to not do anything too big because I knew I had resistance to going out of my house the next day. So I basically smoothed my path ahead of time so that it would be easier for me to do the things I'm not used to doing. So in essence, be gentle with yourself. Please be gentle with yourself. If there's something you really want to do, you haven't been doing it, it's because you're all wrapped up about it inside. The key is not to beat up on yourself and say, why are you going to do this? Why aren't you doing this? What's wrong with you? That is not going to help. What will help, though, is I am going to prepare myself for doing something new because I know it's difficult. I'm going to relax. I'm going to treat myself really well. Even if I don't do the thing, I know that I'm a worthy being and that I should feel good all the time. Really pave the way for yourself to be easy about everything so that when you are inspired, when that inspiration does come to make an action, you're ready for it and you're feeling good enough to follow through. So meditation and really being gentle and caring about how you feel, this is nothing new, right? I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before, but the idea that there's stuff we really want to do and that there's real momentum that's keeping us from having that be an easy path is very real. And so the only way I know how to really get into the new vein, the new inspiration, the new life, the new actions is to relax, treat myself really well. That's going to make it easy for me to then be inspired to the new action. Pushing doesn't work. Trying to force myself to do things doesn't work. None of that works. The only thing that works for me is babying myself, honestly, and letting things come to me naturally. The ideas will come naturally if I make space for them. The actions will come naturally if I make space for them. And then they can really add their own momentum and be explosive and be easy and huge and fun and electric and exciting, right? It's not that I'm always at this slow pace. It's just that I know when there's something I really want, I've got to align with it and I've got to get out of the way of that big energy. So you relax beforehand so you can ride the wave after that, and it really works for me. So be easy, be gentle, and then all the excitement in the world is yours if you just care about how you feel. So I hope this was helpful. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do, start a business, write a film, have fun with it. I will talk to you very soon. Super love. Bye-bye.